Do you have a pain literally in your butt? No, I'm not talking about your best friend or someone that you work with. I'm talking about a high hamstring tendinopathy. Today, we're gonna talk about how to best treat this. Follow along. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Dr. Michael out here.
Dr. Lauren Linus.
And we're gonna be going over a 4-stage high hamstring progression. Before we get there, please make sure you subscribe to the channel.
Yes.
The subscribe helps us a lot and it keeps you educated every week. That being said, high hamstring tendinopathies, what are they? Essentially, our hamstrings in the back that causes our leg and hip to go into extension and knee into flexion. It attaches on an ischial tuberosity. It's that sit bone. When you have a high hamstring tendinopathy, there are a lot of things that can actually irritate it, and they all have one common thing.
Yeah, so that common thing, you guys, is hip flexion. So when we bring that hip up past about 90 degrees, a lot of times high hip hamstring tendinopathy injuries happen when we're going into deep squats, right? We have sometimes if we're stepping up really high steps, maybe we're hiking up an incline. Anytime we're putting that hip past about 90 degrees, that's when you may notice symptoms.
So if that's you, we got 4 steps and we're gonna start with stage 1. So we're gonna go, I'm gonna have Lauren go on her back, and we're gonna show you guys progressions and regressions of basically everything that we're doing today, so you can kind of self-judge where you should start. But essentially, if this is a new injury or this is something that's chronic, it's been going on for a while and your pain levels are high, we wanna start with something very low level and start with isometrics. So all we're gonna do is Lauren's gonna be in a bridge position and she's just gonna bridge up and she's gonna try to hold 30 seconds, maybe even 45 seconds if we can get there. These long duration isometrics, if they're high enough of an intensity, can actually give us an analgesic effect, which means it'll actually help our butt pain literally feel better in the short term.
Yeah,
so a
great progression from here, guys. Once you start feeling some comfort with doing this instead of a lot of nagging discomfort, and I'm feeling my hamstrings working here for sure. I'm also doing a good job of pushing my heels down, which is going to get my hamstrings engaged a bit more too. But a progression from here would be to do a single leg, right? So my left hamstring would be the one that's involved. Same thing, I'm coming up, I'm holding for 30, 45 seconds if I can make it. But again, we're not putting that hip into a lot of flexion. It's actually in a neutral position here, so we're not overloading that hamstring tendon.
That's a good point. So her hip is in a neutral position here. When that hip flexes past about 90 degrees, we get compression on that tendon as well. High amounts of load plus compression, our tendons do not like that. So that's gonna be your next level, your more progressed version of this level 1. Once we get past here, what we're gonna start to do is actually move the hamstrings through a range of motion. So we're gonna go from isometrics to isotonics. Now what we're gonna describe is using a Swiss ball, but if you're at home, you don't have a Swiss ball, a foam roller works just as well. Maybe you have a slider, anything that can just basically move. So the exercise we're gonna do is a hamstring curl.
Yeah, so I'm gonna come up, and like Mike says, now we're working through that range of motion. So I'm coming up into that bridge, and then we're working on actually starting to flex the hip. Now here, I'm in control of how far I go, right? If it's feeling okay, I can bring that hip up to 90, maybe even further. But if I'm getting any discomfort here, I can work through a smaller range, but now we're starting to load that muscle through a little bit of a range of motion, that isotonic movement, yep.
So the hip flexion we progressed here, and just like we showed you last time, we can even progress the amount of load that the hamstring takes by potentially going from 2 legs to a staggered position where Lauren's right leg is now assisting maybe 25, 30%, she's helping. And then I'm making her do a lot of hamstring curls. She can lift up this leg, and now we're doing that exact same thing on 1 leg. So this is gonna be your stage 2 exercise. Now, before we talk about getting into stage 3, there are a couple things that we wanna go over. The first thing is, in order to progress to stage 3, you pretty much have to be able to do these basically pain-free. Because in stage 3, we're gonna not only be progressing the amount of hip flexion we go into and compression, but how much hamstring load we actually put through that hamstring in the exercises. Another thing to talk about is how much we should rest. How much should we rest between these exercises?
So taking a good 48 hours in between exercises, especially when we're working on rehabbing tendons, is important. Tendons don't like to be overloaded, and they will let you know if they're overloaded. So take a good 48 hours in between these exercises. Give your tendon that time to heal, to process, what you just put it through, and then try it again. And be patient with yourself with these exercises too. Tendon injuries can take a little bit of time, so be patient, be kind with yourself as you go through these.
Perfect. So we're gonna go into stage 3. You may have seen this one before.
Oh boy.
It's called a Hamstring Curl. So this is a partner exercise, meaning I'm gonna have to hold Lauren's ankles down and do this. But if you don't have a partner, we have a video that shows you exactly how to do this on your own if it's just you. But for here, we're gonna look here, we're gonna use a partner exercise.
Okay, so from here, I'm gonna still hold me down. Again, we can use that Swiss ball, but now we're loading the hamstring. I'm using the Swiss ball to help out as I'm coming down as far as I feel like I can tolerate. And then I can use the Swiss ball to help me come back up.
So our hip, Lauren's hip right now is in a neutral position, so we got rid of that compression again at the tendon, but we significantly, increase the amount of load through those hamstrings. This is very similar to that stage 1 exercise with we're neutral, just getting it used to how much load we're putting here. Now we're really maxing out the load, but still in a neutral position.
Yeah, cool.
Now, the big kahuna, right after that, we're gonna now combine all these different concepts that we know that our tendon doesn't actually like, but after doing this for 4, 8, 10 weeks, we can start progressing to something that's a little bit more provocative, meaning high loads of hamstring activation plus the hip inflection.
So from here, we're gonna go into a deadlift type position. So again, we're working on loading the hamstring, but now we're also really getting that hip involved, like mindset. So kettlebell, if you guys got a dumbbell, weight at home, even a little bit of weight, like a water bottle works well too. So from here, I'm sending my hips back, sitting back into that hip hinge, and then I'm coming back up. Okay, this is kind of that step 1. From here, we can progress into more of a staggered stance, right? So I'm gonna put that left leg in front. Now I'm already starting a little bit of a hip flexion position here. I can come forward to that hip hinge, and then back up. And again, you're in control of how far you go down. Work the range you feel comfortable.
On here, you can adjust just like the bridge. Lauren wants to put more or less weight on your left side. And you can of course grab more weight, but if you're limited with the weight you have, going now to a staggered and then eventually to a single leg, all puts way more load on that one hamstring if you're limited at home. Now what's like the big one?
The big kahuna. Grab this up.
So, Lauren's gonna stand on the step. What limited Lauren from going into more hip flexion before when she was on the ground was that our kettlebell was literally gonna hit the ground, and that's the amount of hip flexion we can go into. The staggered one kind of gets through that a little bit, but now we can force her to go even lower and increase the amount of hip flexion that we have on this left hip because we elevated her. So we gave her a deficit. Now she's going through a deficit, even more range of motion when we're going ahead and doing this. Now this is the most amount of hip flexion you're gonna get. And then from here, we can go through here. We can spend more time at the bottom if we wanna really be more provocative with it. We can increase the amount of load. There's a lot of other ways that we can progress this, but that's your progressions right here for stage 4. Any other key takeaways you want to give?
No, I think the biggest thing, that we kind of touched on is be patient. These take time to rehab. So give yourself that 48 hours in between. Make sure that you're not pushing yourself to a phase that your body necessarily isn't ready for. Be kind on yourself. It takes time.
It takes time.
Yeah.
And if you aren't actually sure how to progress yourself, we have a hamstring rehab program. Literally, we've done the guesswork for you. We've taken the guesswork out of there for you. We told you exactly what exercises to do, how often to do them, what weight to use, what even tempo to do. So go ahead and check that out. We'll also leave that in the notes.
Cool. Okay, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, you guys. If you want to check out more videos, we'd love it. We've got awesome content coming your way. Otherwise, we'll plan on seeing you guys next week.